Hi, I'm John Tschohl, and I've spent the last 50 years or so in politics, 55 years, and I raise a lot of money for candidates. I'm probably the only one in Minnesota that does it for free. It would not work for a candidate that paid me money. So I want to teach you some fundamental steps in fundraising because you have to raise money. Without money, you have no chance of winning. I was finance chairman for Bill Frenzel for like 16 years. I have raised money for most candidates for the Senate, the governor, for the last 30, 40 years. And when I was in college, I was chairman of the College Republicans. And back then, we didn't have any of the political problems you see today. I could have anybody on campus, and we never had any problems. But I want to talk today about some fundamental steps for fundraising. I'd like you to share this with everybody in your campaign that's a Republican and anybody that's interested in raising money. And there's a whole variety of things I'd say in most campaigns, all of these steps I'm going to talk about are violated almost every single fundraiser. And the question is, how much are they violated? So let me go through some steps that I think are really critical to helping you raise money. When you have an event, I think one of the most important things is you have to have name tags. Everybody has to wear a name tag. That includes the host. If you don't wear a name tag, why should other people wear a name tag? And don't just put down John, put down John Tschohl, the first and the last name on all name tags. And then the other thing is use a Sharpie. Never have ballpoints available for people to use. You can't read the name well on a name tag, so use a Sharpie. And then make sure each person signs in. At a recent event, only 50% of the people signed in. It's really important when you have an event at somebody's house or some location that you have somebody at the registration table 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after, and they never should leave. You have people at all different hours coming into an event. And I would say that probably for all events, there's going to be 10% of the people that just kind of sneak in or walk in, and they're not on any registration list. It's not one or two people. It's a much larger number of people. And then for the name tags, there's software you could use to pre-print name tags. That's kind of cool if you can do that. Avery has software. And the other thing is I like to use an Excel spreadsheet with a computer. So when people come in, you can easily type in the person's name, their address, their email address, their cell phone. And you can get 480 name tags at Amazon for $8.99. And the good news is they stick to your sport coat or your dress, whatever it is that you're wearing. The third is, as I said, I use a laptop for the sign-in. The problem with the paper sheet is you can't read the writing. You can't read the email. You can't read the cell phone. And I wouldn't be surprised it's 25% of the names that you could not decipher the address or the email address. Most handwriting for people is just frankly not very good. So if you have names on a spreadsheet, on an Excel spreadsheet, you need the address, you need the email and the cell phone, the name and the city that they're at. It's very, very important. I have over 400 names now in my database that when I send out a mailing, it goes to 400 different people. The fourth thing is ask everybody for a contribution. There's a lot of people that just walk in and nobody asks them for money. Dave Clark is a great candidate. He ran for mayor of Bloomington a year ago, and 10 of the 65 people that attended the event at my house did not contribute. So it's really critical that you follow up with people. The only objective for a fundraiser is to raise money. I think it's frankly an ego trip for the host and the candidate. Oh, I'm going to this fundraiser tonight, or I'm the host. Look at I've got a Jude coming over. He's running for Congress. He's coming to my house. Who cares? Your single objective is to raise money. Never, never lose sight of that. And then we have a lot of events at our house, and the benefit of hosting an event at your house is the host will cover the cost of food and refreshments. And, I probably spend $200-300 on any event for food and drinks and all that type of stuff. If you had that single event at a hotel, a golf club, or a restaurant, it costs a lot of money. You're going to pay for the drinks. You're going to pay for the food. You're going to pay for the staff to serve the food. In 2022, I had over 8 events at our house, 3 in 2023. I think 4 so far in 2024. And when you're going to have an event at your home, make sure your spouse is on board. My wife, Pat, is very supportive, but if I don't ask her permission in advance, it's deadly, okay? And then she gets really mad at me. So I need to always have her on board. But I would encourage you to ask people to have events at their home, whether there's 10 people that come or 40 people that come. The money, your objective is to raise money, not give it to the hotel or the resort, but to put money into the campaign so that you have enough money to run your campaign. And you need these events ideally at a home. And so you need to ask friends, and they don't have to have an elaborate home, but you want them to leverage that event and have it at their own home. I had a person recently that wanted to do a fundraiser for Tad, June, and another person. And the person that was willing to do the fundraiser called 6 times on a Sunday to see if he could come to the fundraiser. And he was upset because he does not work on Sundays and didn't appreciate the phone calls. I think if you're a candidate, you need to be working 6 days a week, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And when somebody is willing to raise money for you, you better raise your hand and say, fantastic, thank you, I love you, I appreciate it. But the ideal thing is to get people to do it at their homes. And then you need some volunteers to help you, to put the food out, to keep the food coming, to serve the wine, the beer, the soft drinks, and the water. I never pay anybody. I have a cadre of different people that are volunteers. My wife, Pat, doesn't want to get stuck at the end of an event with, hundreds of dishes that have to be cleaned. So the volunteers, help put the food out, keep the food coming, and then they clean the dishes. So the place is pretty clean by the time everybody has left. And you want to find friends that can help you with this stuff. What I'm talking about is not earth-shaking stuff. I'm talking about how do you raise money and put 100% of it into the campaign. And with volunteers, there's some people that just don't have the money to donate. They're not going to give you $50 or $100, but they're willing to volunteer. They're willing to take their time and to help you. And you want to leverage that with any events that you have. And then the candidate needs to be at the event 30 minutes before, not 30 minutes after the event starts. Some people always arrive early. Number 2, you want the candidate to schmooze with the volunteers, to be there to thank the volunteers who are there and hopefully 30 to 60 to 2 hours in advance getting everything ready. My wife will spend days cleaning the house. I mean, she thinks that people are going to go through the house with their fingertip looking for dust, She's a great wife, but she wants the place to look great. When David Clark ran for mayor, he had a table set up outside the entrance of our house with volunteers, with signs, campaign literature, and he had that before and after the event. People can take signs with them after the event. You want to be really organized. Remember, your only objective when I talk about these fundraisers is to raise money and to keep all of it in the campaign so the candidate has money for signs and yard signs and any media that they're doing. There are three things you never want to do. Never, never, and never. When you're raising money and you're the host, you're using your leverage. People give not just to the candidate, they give because of the person asking the money. So when you are talking about having an event, you want them to leverage their contact, their database, because everybody has influence over other people. So the more fundraisers you have who have influence over people, they all have their own contact list of 10, 20, 30 people, 40 people that they have influence with. And when you are raising money and you say, just send the money into the campaign, you never know if they contributed. You don't know how much they contributed. So you want people to send you the checks. If they go to the campaign, and I know that today, there's a lot more internet usage and there's a percentage of people that like going to the website and they donate. But I think that most campaigns, the right arm does not know what the left arm is doing. I just think it's very dysfunctional. And so the host needs to know who gave, and how much money they gave. And when they have to send you a check, they tend to be increasing the amount because they know it's going to you. They know that you're going to see that amount. That's the advantage of a host. You're using hosts who have leverage over other people. And all contributions should be mailed to the host or the person raising the money. When I was raising money for Bill Frenzel for Congress, I never had people send the money to the campaign. Always the contributions came to me, and then I would send the money to the candidate. And one thing I do, and I'm not sure it's on this list, I send a thank you letter immediately to every single person that contributes. And so I have a following of people, and they 100% of the time they get a thank you letter from me before the candidate, thanking them for their contribution and their generosity. But ideally, you want people to send the money directly to you, and then you will deliver it to the candidate. If they send it to the candidate, you never know, again, how much they gave, if they gave. And the campaigns are really somewhat dysfunctional. So people just don't tell you how much they gave. They say, oh, yeah, John Smith gave me a check. They don't say, John Smith gave me a check for $250. They never tell you that. And then when you're donating online, there's a processing fee of 3 to 5%. If they send you a check, there's no processing fee. And again, I'm talking about events sponsored by a host. If you're, and again, if I was out raising money for a candidate, I'm not going to tell them to just send money into the campaign, because I will never know if they gave. I will never know how much they gave. I never know when they gave, okay? Fundraising is based on leverage. Who do you know, and will they give you money? It's not just the candidate they're contributing to. They are giving you money because you have asked. And again, if you have good communications with these people, they will continue to give money for other candidates. And it's critical that the host gets a list within 24 hours of who came, who gave, and how much did they donate. And the reason for that, on any event that you have, there are at least 5 or 10 people that said they're coming that don't come. There will always be another 3, 4, 5 people that come that didn't tell you they're coming. And there are people that are there that might not have contributed, or they gave a very small donation when they could give more. So the host, whoever's putting on the fundraiser, needs that list as fast as possible. When I have an event at our house, I make copies of all the checks. I have the computer that we use for people to register, and we've found that sometimes you really need 2 laptops because there's a lot of people coming at one time. And then you have to follow up with these people, because you can pick up another 25% of the contributions by following up with people that didn't show up or said they were going to come or just were busy, okay? And the faster you do the follow-up, the more money that you can collect. And then I did mention this a little bit, is the thank you letters. The faster the candidate sends a personalized thank you letter, the faster the next contribution comes. Everybody that contributes can contribute 2 or 3, 4 different times. If you don't need another contribution if you're the candidate, don't worry about your thank you letter. But it is extraordinarily important. The speed of sending out your thank you letter, not a month later, not no thank you letter, not a form letter. There's nothing wrong with saying, Sandy, I really loved seeing you last night. Thank you for the generous contribution. You're going to be instrumental in helping me get elected. It doesn't have to be some long letter, but the acknowledgement that thank you and I appreciate. I believe in fundraising. Doesn't matter what kind of fundraising. You could never say thank you too often. And that's why I personally send a thank you letter to every single person that contributes when I have an event. And that's why it's really important to know who came, how much money they gave. And I just, I've been involved in a lot of campaigns, and I'll tell you what, it's very dysfunctional when it comes to finding out who gave and how much money they gave. And the more the host knows, the more they can continue to leverage their friends to make sure that they contribute to help you with your campaign. So, as I said, I always send a personalized thank you note letter to every single person who contributed within 1 to 2 days. My goal is the next day. Takes time, but I get more money this way. And then another fundraising technique I used with Scott Jensen for governor that was very effective. We had co-hosts. For Scott, this is, going back a couple of years ago, I asked each host to give $1,000 or raise $2,500. I think I had like 10 or 8 co-hosts. I got $1,000 from everybody. It was one of the and it was one of the smartest things that the campaign had taught me to do. We had a luncheon at our house, and didn't have any alcohol because you don't drink at lunch. But we raised a lot of money, and if you're running for the school board, the city council, mayor, state representative, or state senate, maybe you ask somebody to give $200 or raise $500. So if you had 5 co-hosts for an event and everybody said, yes, I'll do that, that's $1,000 right off the top, okay? And then maybe 2 or 3 of those will focus on raising the money. But I found a lot of people just prefer to write out a check than try to solicit other people to do it. But this was probably the way that I raised more money than any other single event. And then never let the registration table unattended. People come at all times. Always, always, always man the registration table. I remember this one major event I had, and the young lady that was at the registration table, she wanted to schmooze with all the people. And, getting people to the event is a lot of work, okay? So if you don't have that registration table manned from the very beginning to the very end, it is fatal, because there will be at least a slug of people coming in that nobody knows about. So to not have somebody sign in and not contribute, I think, is the kiss of death. Remember, the only reason that we're having these events is to raise money for the candidate. The reason that I use hosts to put on an event at their house, because then 100% of the money goes to the campaign. And at every event I've ever had, there are people who do not sign in. I talk about this stuff. You would say, John, aren't you supposed to implement all these 21 different principles? There is a failure 100% of the time on most of these things at every single event I've ever done and at other people's events. So you have to have people sign in, and it's a no-no to not have it happen. Getting people to attend the event is a lot of work, really hard work. My wife thinks, it's putting the event on and getting the food ready and the house ready. Well, let me tell you what, if you want 30 or 40 or 60 people in an event, you got to use a variety of different things. You got to send out emails, okay? You got to use text messages. You have to call people on the phone. You have to use the combination. And then you got to remind people to RSVP. And 24 to 40 hours before the event, it's good, again, to remind Kathy, don't forget Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, we got Tad Jude coming to our house. You said you're coming. I look forward to having you here. And by the way, if you have any friends, bring them along. You're looking for hosts that have leverage and contacts who will use their home. And every candidate, for whatever position you're going to run, can have hosts in their city, in their district, in their area who can leverage their contacts, their name, and use their home so that 100% of the money goes directly to the campaign. And to get people to attend is, as I said, is really hard work. So you got to call people. And so, I have, let's say I'm going to do an event in Bloomington where I live. I might have 100 people in Bloomington. So I'm using a combination. I'm sending out emails. And by the way, when I send out an email, I don't just put on the flyer. I always write copy. And I will change that copy because let's say I have an event on October 10. I will maybe have 2 or 3 different emails that will go out, and I'll change the copy on each one of those. So that's always a little bit different. I would recommend on every flyer that you have for your event that you print some out and give them to people. So I'm calling people, I'm using texts, I'm using emails, and I'm handing out flyers. That's how I get 30, 40, 50 people, 60 people at an event. I think for Scott Jensen, it was, I don't remember the number that attended, it was the largest event that we ever had. And then candidate, you have to mingle. You have to arrive at least 30 minutes early to set up and mingle with people. People give more to candidates they love and they get to know. And everyone who contributes, every single person who contributes can contribute more. And I get probably 10, 15 requests for money every day. I think most people get 2 to 3 requests for money every single day. So, you're in a competition with other people. So the relationship with the candidate is really important. If they love the candidate, they know the candidate. Oh, I know Tad. Yeah, I met Tad. It's a tremendous amount of influence. And then number 14, only personal contributions are accepted. You don't want to go to jail. You don't want your name in the paper. So no corporate checks or contributions from corporations. And if it's over $200 in Minnesota for state representative or Senate, you need the name of the employer. It's $100 for school board or city council. You need the name of the employer and their position at the company. So do everything above board. So if the Minnesota Star Tribune was sitting in that room, you want to make sure there's nothing negative that they're ever going to report. And number 15, ask for money. Never tell. I've heard this, by the way. I mean, I just shrivel up and die when I hear a candidate say this. You can contribute later. Oh, my God. You want people to write out checks. You want people to contribute. And some people are going to pay by credit card. That's fine. At the registration table, ask for money. I'd say that 50% of the time people at the registration table fail to ask for money. When you are letting the candidate speak at your event, you have to ask for money. Always ask for money. Your only objective on these events is to raise money for the candidate, and you want 99.9% of the money going directly into the campaign. And then you got to follow up with phone calls, for those who do not donate the event. So again, you look at the list, there's 32 people that attended the event, and there's 3 people that didn't contribute. You need to call them up and say, John, I know you attended our event last night for Tad Jude or whoever you're raising money for, and for some reason we didn't get a contribution. Can you help us out with a couple $100? Always ask for money. And one of the things I'd encourage you to do is follow Mark Finchman. He is in Arizona. He ran for Secretary of State in 2022. He lost, unfortunately, because Arizona is the bedrock of corruption, and in Maricopa County, there's just a tremendous amount of corruption. He is the very best I've ever seen at raising money. If I could get every candidate to be as good as Mark Finchman at raising money, oh my God, we'd win so many elections. It's incredible. I get at least 1 or 2 emails every week asking for money. And the reason I'd encourage you to get on his mailing list and study what he does, because he's the best I've ever seen anywhere in the United States, other than Donald Trump. And I get, zillions of fundraising letters from him. But I'm talking about he leverages his list. He leverages what he's trying to do. So I would encourage you to study what he does. And if you'd like to get on his mailing list, send him a contribution. He is running for state senate right now. He will win, I'm confident. And he will be in a key leadership position in Arizona. But what he does in Arizona is so critical to the future of the United States, because it's really where a lot of the cheating happens and the corruption happens. And number 17, always ask for an RSVP. On all flyers, have the host RSVP with a cell and an email. On all emails, have the RSVP. You need to know how many people are coming for food and refreshments. It's very, very important. And that number 18, always have your contact information. On a recent fundraising email I had, there was no name, no contact information. I didn't even know who was sending it. It was unbelievable. You think that some of these emails that come from weird names, that you're going to recognize it, but we don't. And the event was canceled after I asked who it was. Make it easy for people to reach you. Have your address so people can just send you checks. Have your cell phone. Have your email available. And then I use Costco a lot for food. You get great prices. Fresh Times, which is a supermarket here in Minnesota, has great prices on shrimp. People love shrimp, so I use shrimp. And by the way, I know how to make the shrimp sauce instead of buying it. All you do is you take ketchup, and then you buy horseradish, and you mix some of the horseradish in with the ketchup, and you've got your own dip for the shrimp. Again, I spend about $200, $250 at every event out of my own pocket. That includes the wine, beer, soft drinks, and water. You got to have all of it. People drink a lot of water, which is really surprising. People drink very little beer. They like wine and soft drinks, but particularly water. If you had that same event at a golf course or a hotel, I think it'd cost about $1,500. So that's $1,500 that cuts right off the top that doesn't go to the candidate. So if you can get a host to do an event, and let's say you have a whole bunch of hosts, you could have an event every week, okay? And they're all leveraging their contacts, and you save $1,500. That's going right into the campaign. That's your real objective. And then some people prefer only sending a check. Make sure the check always goes to the person requesting the money. So again, let me rephrase it. If I'm doing a fundraiser for somebody, for David Clark for mayor of Bloomington when he ran, or for Tad Jude for Congress, I always have the person send me the check payable to the candidate, Jude for Congress campaign or Bob Gus for state representative, whatever it is. And that avoids processing fees. I know who gave, I know when they gave, but I always send a thank you letter the day that I got that check. Always send a thank you letter to the contributor. They get a thank you letter from me long before they get it from the candidate. Again, I've said this before, you can never say thank you too often. And then Barbara Malsiker, Scott Jensen's fundraising expert, said, go after new people. Do not just work the same lists. At every event, I add new names. You got to keep track of all contributions for each event. So now I have, I think, about 450 names on my database, and I keep adding names every week to that list, okay? And I'm going to use emails to reach them. I'm going to use phone calls if I can. I'm going to use text messages. I'm going to use the combination. By the way, it was Barbara that taught me how to use those hosts for the Scott Jensen campaign for $1,000 as a host, or raise $2,500. It was the smartest thing that I ever learned. And my contact information is here. If I can ever be of help, feel free to reach me on my cell phone or my email, jtschohl@aol.com. The purpose of this video is to help your campaigns raise money and keep the fundraising costs to an absolute minimum, so that all the money goes into helping you buy signs, print literature, do the media that you need to do to win. So if I can ever be of help, coaching, feel free to give me a call. Everything I do is for free. I'm not going to be your finance chairman. I'm not going to be the one that's going to raise all the money for your campaign. But if you need any advice on any of the principles I talked about, feel free to reach me. Thank you. I'm John Tschohl.